Hello, Manchester. How are you? Are you well? Excellent. Did you all have a good Christmas? Wonderful. Good for you. I don't celebrate that white people shit, but good for you guys. No, I joke. Of course I celebrate Christmas. I think my favorite thing about Christmas is the markets. They're just a little bit dodgy, aren't they? Like, even after the pandemic, they don't accept card. And because of this, I witnessed the best interaction between consumer and business I have ever seen. I was at a Christmas market in North London just a few weeks ago. There was a rude boy in front of me in the queue trying to buy 2 beers. He realized they didn't accept card. All he had was his card. Came out with this absolute gem. Just went, "Fam, you don't accept card. Even I accept card, and I sell cocaine." Sublime. So allow me to introduce myself, Manchester. My name is Raul. I'm from Newcastle. Yeah, I've not been there very long, only about 6 months or so. My dad, he had a wild idea to buy a football club. Evidently, I'm not the son of Mohammed bin Salman. I'm just a regular Geordie, ladies and gentlemen. And long before we were most famously associated with human rights abuses in the Middle East, we were probably most famously associated with the beer, Newcastle Brown Ale. You may have heard of it. I am, in fact, the ambassador for that beer. I'm the Newcastle Brown Male. It's a bit of an odd one because I'm quite a confusing sort of guy. For North Londoners, it must be very confusing seeing a Geordie who is also ethnic. Do you know what I mean? Like in London, they don't think immigrants got as far north as Manchester, right? They think we pretty much just got here and went, no, any further north, it's too cold, all the football teams are shit. That's what they think. Like, to Londoners, I look like an ethnic minority, but I sound like a racist. It's very confusing, but that's not all that's confusing about me. What else is confusing is my name is Raul. That's kind of weird. I'm English, I've got Indian heritage, but I'm called Raul. I'm English, I've got Indian heritage, and for no apparent reason, I have a Mexican's name. Quite confusing, because my name's actually Raul, ladies and gentlemen. It is Rahul, traditional Indian name. But the thing was, all the Geordies who come in my dad's corner shop, sorry, I should point out, my dad does in fact own a corner shop. Because sometimes racist stereotypes are true. But all the Geordies who come to my dad's corner shop couldn't quite pronounce our ethnic-sounding names. They just gave us names that were more applicable to their dialect, right? So I was Rahul, I became Raul. My sister, she was called Kiran. They just called her Karan. My mom's name was Devinder, just called her Dave. That was how it worked. In his hindsight, the worst one was my father, right? Because my father, he had a very oddly anglicised name. My father, for a man with a very thick Indian accent, had a strangely westernised name. My father's name, interestingly enough, Dominic. So you know what they called poor Dominic in the shop for a laugh? Papa Dom! Just how it worked in his Tyneside. I do get this sort of like bafflement at my existence. When I go abroad, a lot of people think I am Welsh, right? This took me ages to figure out, but then I paid close attention. I realised if you do pay close attention to a foreign ear, Geordie, my accent, Indian, my parents' accent, and Welsh, a completely unrelated accent, are perfectly interchangeable. And if you don't believe it, Manchester, I will prove it to you right now. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. Hello! My name is Darrell. I might be from the valleys, or I might be from New Delhi, or I might be from Gateshead. You never know. But as I say, I do get this bafflement at my existence, right? Because when I was at university, I met a Chinese guy from Liverpool, and he was the most scouse man I have ever met in my life. He sounded stronger than Steven Gerrard. All he talked about was burgling, the Beatles, and cocaine. That was it. And I was shook. I'd never met such a Scouse man in my life. I spent the entire evening telling him I did not realise that there were Chinese people with Scouse accents. He spent the entire evening telling me he did not realise that there were Indian people with Geordie accents. Then we both got stoned and pretended to be Harold and Kumar. Best night of my life. But if you ask me, Manchester, these little nuances are what make Britain truly great. Like, I was in Edinburgh for the Fringe Festival all of August. By chance, Manchester, do we have any Scots in the room tonight? Oh, we got some Scots down there. Hello, my lady, what's your name? Okay, I said, hello, my lady, what's your name? And fair enough, Alistair, it is 2022. I do not want to assume your gender. Fair fucking enough. Okay, let's start with Rebecca. Rebecca, whereabouts within Scotland are you from?
West Coast.
The West Coast, so sort of like towards Glasgow.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to like this next joke, Rebecca. Alistair, whereabouts are you from? Glasgow. Oh, fuck. I'm going to get beaten up after this, because like, if you go to Edinburgh, they're quite nice, and that's because in Edinburgh, they like the English. You go to Edinburgh, people will come up to you and be like, oh, you're from England? Oh, that's wonderful. Whereabouts? So Newcastle, that's amazing. I've got family in Berwick. But if you go 45 minutes north of Edinburgh, 45 minutes west of Edinburgh to Glasgow, bit less friendly, innit, guys? Bit less, oh, you're from England? That's so nice. More, oh, you're from England? I hope you fucking die! Which is actually, Rebecca and Alistair, why I love Glasgow. Because Glasgow is now the only place I have been in the world where I've been racially abused, but the colour of my skin was not mentioned once. It's a new one for me, Rebecca. Being told to fuck off back to England. By a Muslim woman in a full niqab, no less, but hey. Times are changing, and they're changing very fast. It's hard to keep up, Manchester. Would you agree with this statement? That's been a pretty crazy past 2 years? About half the room. The other half the room apparently very much used to global pandemics. Fair enough. I mean, I lived through the foot and mouth epidemic of 2001 myself. Don't think it quite compared. And I'm a Hindu. Those piles of dead burning cows meant something to me. But this one started like a sci-fi novel from the get-go. It started with the news that there was a novel coronavirus outbreak at a wet meat market in Wuhan. My first thought was, what the fuck is a wet meat market? That sounds like what my gay friends call Grindr. I have no idea what this is. Next thing you know, it had landed on the continent. Who was the first to fall? It was Italy. And how did the beautiful Italian people respond? They sang Pavarotti on the balconies to their neighbours. It was beautiful. And then it came here, to the UK. And what did we do? We knocked out our neighbours in Aldi over toilet roll. I have no idea what the fuck that was about, but at least the British people, we were aware of the severity of the situation. We knew what was coming. Unlike our government, they had no fucking plan whatsoever. By the way, it's good to be at this work event. Oh, but they had no approach. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Stay in the house, go out the house, but only if you're going for a run to the pub for a substantial meal. We're locked down, we're here out to help out, we're locked down again, we're not locked down again, we're locked down again, we're not locked down again, we're locked down again. Look, guys, if you could just sort this out amongst yourselves, we are very busy trying to fuck our personal assistants. That was our entire government's approach. But I don't know about you guys, but everyone I spoke to, all of my friends, they were so selfless during the pandemic. Everyone I'd ring up, I'd ask and say, how you coping with the pandemic, mate? They'd say, Raul, it's been the worst year of my life. My finances are at an all-time low. My mental health is at an all-time low. But you know what, Raul? I've not had the worst year. Someone out there has had a worse year than any of us, and it is that person I feel sorry for, Raul, not myself. And I don't really think we should be sympathizing with Prince Andrew, but whatever gets you through this pandemic. And I should retract that, because he's not Prince Andrew anymore, is he? He's just regular Andy, isn't he? Fighting the case as a private citizen, but he's not fighting the case as a private citizen. He's not fighting the case as a private citizen until he gets run up outside that Pizza Express in Woking by one of those paedophile vigilante groups. Gets it. He's not fighting this case as a fucking private citizen until somebody sprays nonce on the front door of Buckingham Palace. Fuck me, it's been a mad year, hasn't it? It's been mad. It's not all been bad. I mean, to be honest, I'm just fucking happy to be back performing live, looking at you guys in the face, hearing your reaction. Because doing this shit via Zoom, oh, it killed my sweet, sweet soul. Selling myself on webcam like a budget porn star. Oh, I'm going to retract that. I don't think that's fair, because I don't know if you know a lot about cam girls or women with OnlyFans, but I know from experience they make a lot of money. They make big bank. Whereas this year, I was forced to move back in with my mum. And that was very awkward, because she was doing a lot of filming for her OnlyFans. Really took off this year. That day she did the BBC one. Oh, God, the worst day of my life. We all had a date via the cloud as well. Who were the ones who met on Tinder? Oh, she's disappeared. You're being ghosted, son, in the middle of my set. Fucking hell. Excellent work. Well, you look like an attractive man. Say, I'm fucking very happy that it's worked out on Tinder. Didn't quite work out for me. I had to delete it. I kept getting catfished. If you're not familiar with the concept of catfishing, imagine you have booked a ticket to go see Ramesh Ranganathan, and then I walk out on stage. That is catfishing in its essence. We all got held hostage by the cloud. We all got held hostage by social media. I say held hostage because we all know it is terrible for our mental health, but we continue to use it regardless. I feel like the best way I can describe Twitter is like the pub, but there is no alcohol and an excess of people who chat shit. And that's why I think it is the worst place to be, right? Because if you chat too much shit in the pub, there is always the threat you will get knocked out. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It restores balance to the universe. If you chat too much shit in the pub, you get knocked out. If you chat too much shit on Twitter, you get to be president of the United States of America. That is fucked up. Does not make any fucking sense. But as I say, it wasn't all bad. We had the Euros. That was good. Give me a cheer if you enjoyed the Euros. Oh, it was wonderful, but I got myself in a little bit of trouble this year during the Euros. I got accused of racism. Don't you worry. I did not send any mean messages to Marcus Rashford. My Twitter was not hacked. What happened was I'm a big fan of quintessential English things. Like using the word quintessential, right? I'm a big fan of all the things the papers tell you brown people don't do. Don't fucking believe them. I do them all, right? I celebrate Christmas. I wear my poppy with pride. Like, I'm so English, I even go dogging. It's good to see you two again. But one of those quintessential English things is following the England national football team, right? I'm a very passionate and proud supporter. Every year's a Euros, every year's a World Cup. I'd always put the England flag outside my window. But this year, when I put the England flag outside my window, my house got reported for racism. In fairness, what I had forgotten was that my grandma had a swastika in her window. Grandma's not a Nazi, right? But the swastika is a very important symbol to Hindus. And as aforementioned, she is a Hindu, right? It still is to this day. Now, bless my grandma's cotton socks. She ain't got the best knowledge of European history. She has a swastika in her window. Naturally, that's going to baffle white people walking past my house. Because can you imagine walking past the house in one window, you see the England flag. In the next window, you see a swastika. But then in the living room window, you just see a bunch of Indians having a Sunday roast. Baffle people for years. I think people just thought it was some sort of forced integration camp set up by Priti Patel. That's what was happening in my house. Now, strictly speaking, I say I'm Hindu. Strictly speaking, I'm half Hindu, half Sikh. They're the ones who wear the big turbans. My father was a Hindu. My mother was a Sikh. They raised me primarily Hindu, which I'm now starting to regret as I approach 30, because I don't know if you can see sat down there, but I am going very bald very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. So I could have used that fucking turban. Doing this job, I often get confused for Muslim, and I believe that is because I don't drive, and I do this job. So I'm a single Asian man traveling from city to city with a beard and a backpack on planes, buses, trains. I get stopped and searched a lot. Now, we can have a big discussion about national security versus racist stop and searches. All I'll say, Manchester, is if it stops a terrorist attack anywhere, I don't mind a cheeky finger up the bum. But it does get in the way, right? Because if you miss your train, you got to pay for a new one. If you miss your gig, you're not getting paid. So I started trying to do things to get around it. Like, why do you think I got the nose ring? Because you never see a terrorist that looks a little bit bisexual. That is not a thing. Don't know what the Taliban's plans are for the future of Afghanistan, but I don't see them setting up a division of LGBT suicide bombers anytime soon. My best friend, though, he is a Muslim. He's a Muslim by the name of Specky Rizwan. Now, you don't know Specky Rizwan, but you may know a Specky Rizwan. You get a lot of them in Rusholme, Rochdale, Bolton, Oldham. He's the archetypal Asian rude boy. He walks down and he's like, yo, bro, how you doing, innit, bro? One of these types, right? Balanced on the one hand, being a devout Muslim. Balanced on the other hand, being a drug dealer. Very interesting watching him balance those two lifestyles together. Like, he didn't drink, but he smoked and he sold weed. He had a souped-up Nissan Micra, of all cars. Tinted windows, spoiler on the back, rims, but he would only ever park it facing east. Like, he had one of those religious Muslim hats, but his had a Nike swoosh in it. That's the type of guy we're talking about. Now, where we lived, not the most diverse place in the world. It's the East End of Newcastle in the 90s. Where we lived, not the most politically correct place in the world. Again, it's the East End of Newcastle in the 90s. Now, where we lived, me and Rizwan, we were known for smoking a lot of weed together. Where we lived, they called weed wacky tobacco. And because we were known for smoking so much, they affectionately gave us the nickname the Wacky Two Packies. Level with your Manchester, that joke is not acceptable. Not acceptable one bit. And it's not acceptable because I am Indian and we fucking hate Pakistanis. Now, I want to leave you with one last story, ladies and gentlemen, because one thing that has also happened to me a lot this year is I have been asked by a lot of people how you do stand-up comedy. I think what happened is the pandemic has jolted a lot of people into trying that thing they've always wanted to try but never got round to. And I've got 3 tips for you, ladies and gentlemen. You obviously got to be funny, you got to be quick on your feet, and number 2, you got to be very empathetic. You've got to be able to look at people, realize what they're about, where they're from, what makes them tick, right? And the best example I've ever seen of this was in New York. So give me a cheer if there's anyone here who's been to New York. Now, those people, give me a cheer if you've been to Harlem, New York specifically. You gave me a cheer there, Miss Matchmaker, who looks at pictures of herself and is on Tinder right now. Fucking hell. Did you know this? I told you got ghosted, mate. Fucking hell. Right, my lady, when you were in Harlem, New York, did you walk through? Very quickly, fucking hell, too many black people for you. Okay, I see. Jesus Christ, very quickly. Were you at all approached to buy a mixtape? No. Is anyone else who went to Harlem, New York, were any of you guys approached to buy a mixtape? Okay, well, this story is going to be fucking brilliant. Now, because if you go to Harlem, historically, very African-American area. Historically, a lot of famous rappers have come from this place. And you go to Harlem, New York, and it's pretty crazy. Like, what happens is people on the street will try and sell you a mixtape. They fancy themselves the next big thing in rap. And when I went, I was with 2 guys from my hostel, right? A trainee doctor from Somalia and his dorm mate, who's a trainee doctor from Missouri. As we're there, I'm holding a big bucket of Popeye's chicken. If you don't know what that is, it's basically KFC in America, but it is black-owned. As I'm stood there holding this big bucket of Popeye's chicken, this mixtape salesman approached me. He goes, "Yo, dog, you look like you know your hip-hop beat." And I really like to think I know my hip-hop. He was very kind. It really rubbed me up the right way. And he's like, "You want to buy one of my mixtapes?" But my mouth's full of chicken. I'm like, "Oh, no, blah, 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 thank you very much." And as soon as I rejected him, this kindness just turned to sheer, unadulterated anger. He just took one look at me and went, "Oh, I see. Yeah, I see that with your papas. You like black food, but you do not like black people." Now this, ladies and gentlemen, caught me off guard. But I'm a compassionate, empathetic man, so I did what any compassionate, empathetic man would have done in that given situation. I pushed the Somalian kid in front of me and I went, "You're black, deal with this!" But the Somalian kid, before he had a chance to say a thing, this mixtape salesman, he just turned into Derren Brown. He just started reading us one by one. It was the most impressive thing I have single-handedly seen. He took one look at the Somalian. "Oh, I see. I know you, motherfucker. Just from your skin complex, you probably from Somalia. Am I right?" "Yeah, I'm right." He knew he was right just off the change in the Somalian's face. And then he goes, "And oh, yeah, let me guess. Just where you hold yourself like a little bitch. You ain't got no real-life experience in these streets. You probably a student or something. Am I right?" "Yeah, I'm right. Let me figure this out. You look like a kind motherfucker, empathetic motherfucker, intelligent motherfucker. You training to be. Let me figure this out. You training to be a doctor. Am I right?" He was right, ladies and gentlemen. He moved straight on to his mate and he goes, "Oh, yeah, no way. You two would have been friends if it was for like circus dance. So you must be trained to be a doctor as well. You share a dorm together or something. Am I right?" "Yeah, I'm right. Let me figure this out. Just where you hold yourself like a country bumpkin. You ain't from New York, neither. You from the Midwest somewhere rural, somewhere in the Rust Belt. Am I right?" "Yeah, I'm right. Let me figure this out. Is it, you from Missouri? Am I right? He was right, ladies and gentlemen. 2 out of 2. We could not believe what we were seeing. But then he came to me. And he goes, "Oh, yeah. And I know you, motherfucker." And I'm thinking, there is absolutely no way. Like, think of the logistics. How would this mixtape salesman in the middle of Harlem, New York, begin to even comprehend where the fuck Newcastle upon Tyne is? Like, did he see goal with Santiago Munez? Did he hear about Raul Moat in the news? Do they get Biker Grove in Harlem? What the fuck happened here? But he takes one look at me, dead in the eyes. He goes, oh, yeah, no, you motherfucker. I see motherfuckers like you here all the time. I can tell from your accent, you're from Wales. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Raul Kohli. You've been an absolute delight. Please enjoy the rest of your night.
Give it up, all the way from Wales, Raul Kohli!